There is a plant that has survived on this earth for thousands of years without irrigation, without fertilizer, without a farmer watching over it. It fed entire civilizations through drought, through war, through the kind of collapse that erases everything else. And almost no one alive today has heard its name. That is not an accident. What cannot be owned tends to disappear, not through fire or flood, but through paperwork. Through the slow, bureaucratic pressure of systems that require uniformity, that require predictability, that require a product to behave. This plant did not behave. It persisted on its own terms and its own time on soil that had given up on everything else. And so, quietly, it was left off the list. Not banned, not poisoned, simply overlooked, until overlooked became forgotten. This is Ancient Food Files, a channel dedicated to recovering what was buried before the last people who remembered it are gone. If you are watching this and you have not yet subscribed, consider doing so now. Not for the algorithm, for the archive. These stories are disappearing in real time, and some of them only exist in one place. The plant is called tipari bean. In the Sonoran Desert, where the land is the color of old bone and the sky offers almost nothing, the O'odham people cultivated it for at least 4,000 years, possibly longer. Their oral traditions do not speak of planting it so much as of listening for it, watching for signs in the desert floor that told them when the brief rains were coming, when the soil had just enough stored moisture to carry a seed through. They called it bawi. Some communities still do. The O'odham did not merely grow this bean. They understood it as a relationship, a conversation between people and a landscape that had no patience for waste, no tolerance for error. The desert does not negotiate, and so the bean did not ask for more than the desert could give. It adapted across centuries into something that modern agronomy would call, with clinical understatement, drought-tolerant. The O'odham simply knew it as reliable, as trustworthy, as the thing that would be there when everything else had burned away. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what the tipari bean does inside the earth. Its root system descends quickly and deeply, chasing the faint trace of moisture that lingers beneath the cracked surface long after the rain is gone. In conditions where a common bean would wither within days, soil temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, relative humidity near zero, the tipari continues. It slows. It waits. It does not panic. The seed coat is thick and dense, evolved to resist the extremes of desert germination. When water finally comes, even a small amount, the plant responds with extraordinary speed, flowering, setting pods, maturing in as few as 60 days. It has learned to compress an entire life cycle into the narrow windows of possibility that the desert allows. This is not stubbornness. It is precision. It fixes nitrogen in poor, depleted soil, leaving the grounds more fertile than it found it. It asks for nothing that it cannot source on its own. The historical record confirms what the oral traditions already knew. During the prolonged drought cycles of the late 19th century, when the American Southwest was fracturing under pressure, when ranchers were abandoning land, when rivers were running dry months ahead of schedule, the tipari continued to produce. Anthropologist Edward Spicer, documenting Sonoran food systems in the early 20th century, noted that O'odham communities survived seasons that killed off cattle, horses, and introduced grain crops entirely. The tipari fed people when nothing else could. During the Mexican Revolution, as displacement moved through the northern borderlands and agricultural supply lines collapsed, desert communities that retained traditional planting knowledge did not starve the way others did. The tipari was not a miracle. It was simply still there, doing what it had always done, indifferent to the chaos around it. So, why did it vanish from the broader agricultural record? Not because it failed, because it succeeded on its own terms, which were the wrong terms. The mid-20th century reorganized global food production around a particular logic: seeds that could be owned, patented, and sold annually. Crops that responded dramatically to irrigation and synthetic fertilizer, producing yields that looked impressive on paper and in photographs. The Green Revolution, whatever its genuine achievements, was also a standardization project. It selected for dependence as much as for productivity. A seed that needed nothing, that reproduced freely, that thrived without inputs, that a farmer could save and replant without purchasing anything, was economically inert to the system being built. The tepary bean was unmanageable, not in the field, in the spreadsheet. It produced inconsistent yields by industrial standards because it was responding to natural variation rather than controlled inputs. It could not be easily mechanically harvested. Its pods did not mature uniformly. It was, in every bureaucratic sense, inconvenient. And so the infrastructure passed it by. The research stations, the seed banks, the university extension programs, the commodity markets. By the time the 20th century was finished, the tepary had retreated back to a handful of indigenous farms and the memory of old people.